From Thomas Edison with the phonograph to Les Paul with the electric guitar, technology has long been the driving force in the ever-changing musical landscape. But not all new innovations have had the intended impact. Today, we're going to look back at how one instrument in particular revolutionized music, just not in the way its inventor might have intended. I'm ThinkSoJoE, this is Things You Might Not Know, and today I'll tell you how a Soviet invention led to the rise of electronic music. In the early 1900s, scientists were experimenting with electronic proximity sensors that could tell the distance from an object without needing to touch it. We see these all the time now with phones, automatic door openers, and backup sensors in cars. In 1919, Russian physicist Leon Theremin created the first instrument played entirely by these sensors. Dubbed the Theremin, the inventor toured the world with the instrument, dazzling audiences with its strange operating style of waving one's hands in front of the device to control pitch and volume, before patenting it in the United States in 1928. He sold production rights to the Theremin to RCA in 1929, who unfortunately released the instrument after the stock market crash of that year, ensuring the instrument's commercial failure. However, while the instrument failed in the US, it slowly gained popularity in Europe, and eventually the instrument, with its unearthly sound, found its niche in the early science fiction films of the 40s and 50s. While popular, its appeal was limited, as the control of it took some time to properly learn, and it had a limited amount of sounds it could create. It was looking like the revolution that many had expected was about to die out. In 1953 in Flushing, Queens, Robert Moog began selling his own design for the Theremin. Ever the inventor, he was always listening to his customers for feedback, looking for ways to improve it and make it more accessible to musicians. One of his customers, Raymond Scott, whose own music would be adapted in over 120 Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies cartoons, would rewire one of Moog's Theremins, allowing it to be controlled by a keyboard. This simple modification would end up kickstarting the long-awaited musical revolution, but first, Moog had to deal with the synthesizer. Synthesizers at the time were massive and expensive pieces of equipment the size of a small room. Many were operated by punch cards, and the complexity of using it made it almost impossible to compose with, except for the most daring composers. Moog, armed with Raymond Scott's idea, was about to change that. In 1964, after studying at Cornell University, the former Theremin salesman debuted the Moog synthesizer. The Moog device was much cheaper and smaller than the others and could also be controlled by a keyboard. Featuring a cabinet designed much like a large soundboard, musicians would use the instrument cables to connect the different modules of the Moog, using a rather straightforward approach to create an impressively wide range of sounds. Among those impressed were the Doors, the Beatles, Yes, the Monkees, and perhaps the band most synonymous with the Moog, British prog rock supergroup Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Keith Emerson was one of the most vocal supporters of the Moog, incorporating the instrument heavily into all of ELP's albums. Most importantly, Emerson insisted on taking the Moog on tour. This would put the Moog front and center of the prog rock movement and begin to show the world the possibilities of the instrument. In 1970, after feedback from people like Emerson, the Moog company debuted versions of the synthesizer specifically designed at session, touring, and home musicians. The Mini Moog was the first synthesizer sold in retail stores to the public and would be followed by other, smaller models such as the Prodigy. So what does this have to do with the rise of popular electronic music? I'm glad you asked. In Youngstown, Ohio, 14-year-old Trent Reznor's grandparents had finally bought him his long-asked-for Moog Prodigy synthesizer, a moment that Reznor has gone on record as saying was the greatest day of his life at the time. Reznor would begin composing and recording his own music, relying heavily on the Prodigy as the foundation of his sound. Forming the band 9 Inch Nails in 1989, Reznor would release the seminal industrial rock album Pretty Hate Machine. The album flew up the charts and helped shine the mainstream light on an electronic music scene that was far removed from the synth-pop and new wave bands that had previously dominated MTV and radio. While Reznor was not the first to use the Moog Prodigy and not the first to champion its use, the attention his music had at the time would drive more musicians to experiment with the instrument, with acts such as Fatboy Slim, Joy Electric, the Get Up Kids, Tegan and Sara, and Rammstein also using the Prodigy in later years. British band The Prodigy even named themselves after the synthesizer. The popularity of synthesizers also drove the innovation of them, pushing them to be even smaller and easier to use, while offering even more options for creating new sounds. The same instrument that once dominated an entire room and could only be used by electricians can now be installed into a PC or smartphone, allowing anyone the opportunity to experiment with creating electronic music. It's not uncommon to find entire video game, TV show, or movie soundtracks that have been recorded either in part or in whole on synthesizers. Reznor himself has scored films such as The Social Network, Gone Girl, and even the Pixar movie Soul. Throughout his career, he has used a Moog synthesizer on every project he's done, crediting the instrument's versatility and sound for helping inspire him. Over 100 years ago, Leon Theremin hoped to revolutionize the music world. Unfortunately for him, it was the limitations of his invention that would help inspire others to revolutionize music, but his name will still go down in history as a vital part of popular music's foundation. After all, without him, we don't have the Doctor Who theme song. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching Things You Might Not Know. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can see a playlist of Things You Might Not Know videos over there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time!